Hey, Elaine, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Rachel. This is awesome.
Yeah, let's start off. Just tell us a little bit about you and your business and how you got started doing what you're doing.
Yeah, so I call myself an accidental entrepreneur because it was circumstantial. So basically, I was working in the wedding industry. One day, my boyfriend calls from overseas, tells me that his brother was actually murdered. And I asked my boss if I could go see him, be with his brother, attend the funeral overseas, and he said no. So I had to make a decision between basically business and a family, basically, or relationship. And I chose relationship. So I moved over to Honduras, quit, and was like, okay, I am now in a foreign country. I don't know the language. I don't know anybody else. I had literally just like picked up and left. So it was a brand new start for me, as well as extremely difficult. So I basically started my blog, Lady Boss Blogger, in order to learn how to become a lady boss and learn how to become a blogger and basically learn how to. It was a way for me to like connect with the outside world, to people that I could actually, communicate with. So that's kind of how it all started.
And then what happened? So, like, you grew this massive platform. Was it like accidental growing the huge platform, or what was that like?
Well, I think I realized that like I was actually really good at marketing. I didn't even know, like, if I knew marketing was a career path, I would have totally chose that in college. But actually, my college didn't even offer that. I actually studied art ceramics, so it was just like so crazy. But um, I did marketing for all the companies that I worked with, but I didn't know that that was what it was. AKA the social media, the email, the design, all that stuff. And so I basically just used all my skills and just created my own brand, and it just worked. And so I started monetizing it basically a week later, which I realized in retrospect was very, very not common.
Right.
And so a year later, the Huffington Post interviewed me and was like, "How did you scale this so quickly?" Da da da. And I was like, you know what? Like, it's just consistency. I was very
Mm.
consistent with. I posted every single day on my blog at 6 p.m. Central. And then I also posted every single day on my social media platforms. So it was a very consistent, and also like everything was templated. So like I didn't want to like overthink anything. I just wanted to produce, pump, 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 and just like get it out there, regardless if I felt like wanting to post or whatever. I still did regardless. So I think it was the consistency in producing content as well as the consistency in what it looked like, because everything was literally either this template or this template. That's it. Yeah, and it was all
Consistency
pink.
is,
Yeah,
yeah,
pink, white, and black.
consistency is everything. Okay, so when you're creating that much content, how many words, what's the length of it? I'm just looking at like time wise. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness. Like
so
what
I
did
didn't write
that look like?
anything. It was all
Okay.
interviews.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, it was all because I didn't know anything. I wasn't an expert in anything. I was a learner. So
Yeah.
I was like, I want to know. And the reason why I called it Lady Boss Blogger as well was because I was like, I was meeting all these entrepreneurs in Chicago. And granted, I mean, I've never met an entrepreneur in my life. So I was like, whoa, these people think differently and
Yes.
they live differently. And what's up with this? And so, yes, when I started hanging out with them more, they kind of started influencing me more. But I was like, where's the woman at? Because they're
Mm,
all men. And
yeah.
so that's why I was like, okay, let me just like find them online, And so that's why I wanted to interview them, because I was like, well, where else am I supposed to learn this stuff if not from people who are actually in the industry?
Yeah. So when you're interviewing them, is it like video interview like this or is it like written?
No.
Okay. So what
It
did
was
that look like?
purely written. So I just sent them an email. I was like, hey, can I interview you? And they were like, yes, of course. And then they would send the blog post, like everything written out for me. So I would just copy and paste it onto my blog and then format it and then, do all the branding, all the, different editing stuff. But that was it. Because I mean, my internet was not that good. Sometimes like there would be days where there's a storm that hit Honduras and then
Yeah.
I'll be out of internet or the power would just randomly go off. It was like crazy. So I had very crappy internet. So I could not do video. Plus, I
That's
actually didn't,
brilliant.
I was like very, like, I remember doing my very first podcast, like video. I was terrified. I was shaking. I was like, you could hear it in my voice. Like,
Yeah.
I am not good with video. It's taken me a lot of time to even get comfortable just like this. So, yeah.
Well, it's just brilliant the format that you did this in because it took so much of the time and the effort off of you and it put it on other people and the fact that it was written. So it's like you don't even have to technically show up. They're the ones that are writing it and sending it in. And that
Yep.
makes it a lot easier to do it every single day if it's not taking your personal time every day to show up for that interview.
Right.
So smart. I love it. Okay, so what's like the standard amount of time if you want to be a blogger? How often do you think you should upload? Like, should it be every day? Should it be once a week? What does that look like?
I mean, it depends on your timing, how much you're able to do, I would say. I mean, I had no friends, I had nothing. I had, literally it's just me and my computer. I had all the time in the world,
Mhm,
so I was able to produce every single day.
mhm,
And I didn't have a job, that became my job. Right. So, I mean, if you have, kids and you got a husband, you got like, all these things running around, I would say once a week is good.
mhm,
If not once every other week.
mhm,
So yeah, but social media, you should be posting consistently every day.
mhm.
And then leading up to, your blog post announcement, whenever you do that post.
Yeah.
So,
So when you are uploading a blog post, are they all interview style or do you ever stray away from that?
so that was my first year.
Okay.
So then the second year I started taking on guest posts. So same similar style. But basically I would like do an interview and then I would do a guest post and then kind of swap like that. And then now uh, I think I've only written my own blogs, like probably a handful of my own personal blogs, which is
Okay.
kind of ironic because I'm called a blogger.
Mhm.
But wait, what was your question? Like,
See, now I don't even remember.
why?
Now I don't even remember. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I feel like we're very similar in personality, so I like you.
Yeah, I like super like, I will go off with a bunny trail for sure.
Totally. Oh my gosh, me too. And I did not sleep much the past 3 nights, so I'm like, mom brain. Okay. Um, let's see. Okay, time commitment. We talked about like once per week is a great place to start.
Yeah, and
Uh,
the reason why is because because of SEO, because of
right.
Google,
Mhm,
everyone likes new fresh content. So if you're producing new fresh content, that's what is going to pick up and track. So it's not
okay.
because you should, there's a reason behind the
Right.
madness.
Got it. And then when you're doing these interviews, are you doing like keyword research beforehand and telling them, hey, you should like optimize it for this keyword, or you just publishing it?
No, I literally all I did, and as I said, that was my first year. Like I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
So I was like, these are the questions that I'm interested in. This is what I want to ask you. This is so it was just I just wanted to learn what they
Hmm.
did in business, what's their, and all like the tools that I used was learned from those interviews. Like if they recommended a email software, a whatever software they recommended, I was like, oh wow, 10 people in a row recommended this same software. I want to check that out.
Yeah.
So I was looking at commonalities with all the interviews and then using that as my like research data point basically.
Yeah. And so then what did you do to build your email list from that blog?
So I really regret it because I feel like I hit 100,000 followers before I started my email list. So if I
Oh,
no,
oh
I was
no.
so focused on social media, and
Yeah.
which is good because actually the very first thing that I invested in was a social media like scheduler. So
Yeah.
basically, it would just post my own stuff, so it looked like I was online all the time when I really was not at all.
Smart.
So that was the first thing. But yeah, it was like probably like 2 years, maybe even 3 years into business
Hmm.
when I finally just started tapping into that, and I use ConvertKit.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's how it started.
Nice. What are some of the ways that you monetize your blog?
So now I have courses, as well as so basically with the courses, how it started was I didn't even want to blog about blogging or how to monetize a blog or how to monetize your Instagram. It just kind of happened.
Hmm.
So basically, as I said, a year afterwards, when Huffington Post was like, "Hey, how did you scale?" And the people started emailing me like the same questions. They're like, "Oh, how did you do this and that?" Because on the blog, as I said, first off, I didn't blog. I just created a really successful blog because of my
Hmm.
marketing. And so, um, with all these questions, I was like, you know what? Let me just collect them, because I was tired of sending the same response. And then I slowly, throughout the course of a year, I just kind of put it into a course so that I could just send them that link, and address it. And then after that, people were starting to wonder, oh, who is the Lady Boss blogger? You know, who is this girl behind this blog? And so then that's when I started my Instagram, and I was like, all right, well, this is who I am, this is what I do, etc. And then once again, a year later, people were like, okay, so how do you land brand deals? I just started working, you know, I worked with Amazon, Target, Best Buy, Ulta Beauty, like all these different things. And people were just like wondering how I did it. And so once again, I used all
How
this.
did you do that?
It's in my course or in my courses. And yeah, so basically I just started compiling them, and that's kind of how that product came to be. So I would say courses is like the major one.
Got it. This is incredible. Okay, how do you like encourage someone that's wanting to start a blog and they're just not sure if it'd be the right fit for them? What would you say to them?
I would say action over announcements.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people that say, oh, I want to start a blog. I want to XYZ, whatever, fill in the blank, right? But if you are not putting, you know, like actionable stuff, and what I mean by action is just like, okay, number one, learning, what should I do? That's an action, right?
Mhm.
Instead of just thinking about it, dreaming about it.
Mm.
And then like every single, like I would say like honestly, the most successful entrepreneurs that I know are all about not huge risks in terms of like, you know, quit your job, move to overseas or whatever. They're actually more, it's very calculated. It's
Hmm.
like, okay, this is my big idea. Generally, I don't know where to get there, but this is the next calculated step. I'm going to do some research. What did that step get me? What did that step do? And then pivot and or take the next step. So it's all about like building blocks. So
Hmm.
thinking of blogging less as a huge like, oh my gosh, like end goal, this is what I want. Yes, it's good to have that, but it's even more important to know what is your next step, which is why for me personally, whenever I wanted to learn something, I would buy a course and I'll
Hmm.
be like, okay, how do I get there in the least amount of time possible? Because it's, you've heard this a billion times, like don't reinvent the wheel. There's no, everyone does the same thing, but you can become really good at your niche, whatever it is that you do, if you just spend less time trying to get there and trying to figure it out on your own. Because like
Totally.
that's not like a thing. We are all, we've all had teachers, right? Like we've
Mhm.
all went through the school process. Did we learn math by ourselves? No. You know, we had someone walking us through. Like it's all about, and people are like, oh well, how do I find like mentors? And I was thinking that myself when, you know, when I was starting. Well, I interviewed people. That was how I found my first mentors. And then after that, when I, you know, was able to, then I invested in courses, and courses was basically my mentorship, because it's like people who have accomplished what you want to accomplish and you're learning from them. That's it. And then now I actually have physical mentors that are actually live around me, that are, you know, I go to their house, you know, and talk with them. So it's just, yeah, take it a step at a time, but make it a step that is a smart step in terms of like learning from someone that knows more than you.
Yeah, Tony Robbins says you can compress decades of learning into days when you have the right strategy. So it's like, why reinvent the wheel? Why spend a decade of your life trying to figure it out on your own when someone who's more successful than you are has already figured it out and they have
Mhm.
compressed it into some form of a book, a course, a whatever, a program that you can do. So
Right.
I love that. So when you're finding people to interview, how many people would you reach out to actually get someone to say yes? And then how did you find these people?
Um, goodness, it was a bunch. Just sprayed and prayed. Yeah.
Mhm.
It was just whoever I thought was interesting. And at that point, I mean, every single person I thought was interesting because they knew more than I did. You
Hmm.
know, I mean, I don't have a business brain. I don't have, you know, I didn't go to business training, nothing like that. Actually, even the first year, my finances were all over the place. Like, I didn't even document my income and my expenses on the same sheet. Like
Hmm.
it was like I didn't know where the money was going and coming. It was terrible, you know. So yeah.
So spray and pray.
Yes. Yes. Okay. It's not like, as I said, strategy, I think, came to me at the more and more I learned. Um,
Right.
but like, yeah, it was, I would say like hundreds, you know, just every day, hundreds, not every single day, but maybe like every week, like just,
Yeah.
and for me, I like repetition. So I like, you know, and I came from the sales background.
Right.
So that was very like, you know, send, let's see how many people we can get. And you
Yeah,
know?
it's a numbers game. Like I think a lot of people they'll send out like one or two emails and then be disappointed because they didn't get a response and they're like, "Oh, that didn't work." When in reality, you just need to be persistent and numbers. Like that's
Yes.
huge.
Hmm.
What would you say to someone who says that blogging is dead?
Oh my gosh. um, Anything can be dead if you think it's dead.
Yeah.
Um, but the thing with blogging is that like it's taken on a different form. So what they think blogging is they think it's a diary, online diary. That's
Mhm.
really outdated thinking, which is why they think it's dead.
Yeah.
But if you see the new form of blogging, it's basically content marketing. Every single business is doing it,
Hmm.
because everyone is online now. And
Yeah.
so like that is, if anything, it is soaring,
Mm.
because I mean, there more and more, jobs are opening up because of content marketing. People are trying to like get online and learn what's the best way to do that.
Hmm.
So it is definitely not dead.
What would you say to someone who says like that topic, it's already being talked about, so I don't have value to add to it?
Everyone has a fresh perspective. Everyone, gets something from, you personally, whatever it is that you have to offer.
Mm.
There's insight, right? Like you can connect to somebody better than someone else can.
Mm.
It's about utilizing your personal story, weaving it in there, your personal strategies, whatever it is. And there's always going to be people above you, like in terms of knowledge and skill, and then below you as well. So
Hmm.
all you're doing is you're just always catering to the person learning from the person above you, catering to the person below you. That's
Hmm.
it.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a good perspective. A good way to look at it is you don't have to be at the top. And I think that's what a lot of people think. They see the people that are like at the top and they're like, well, I could never do it as good as they
But
do.
even
So
the
why
people
even
at the
try?
top are not at the top.
Right?
There's always someone above them,
Yeah.
right? So yeah. And to me, I'm like, well, God is the top. So we're not trying to be God over here.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah.
What are some of the biggest mistakes that you've made or struggles that you've had? And what did you do to overcome them?
I would say at the very beginning, it was just really technical. I mean,
Hmm.
granted, yes, yeah, I'm a millennial. Like, it's technology is, I'm okay with it. But I wasn't like the best. And it was just I remember my brain hurting so bad. Like literally crying on the computer, like, why won't this work? And I would say, yeah, technology was really, really frustrating, and it still sometimes is. Um, like my site just completely went offline for like on my birthday. This was a month ago, for like 24 hours. That's never happened before. And I'm like, 4 years in business.
Hmm.
So it was just, like there's, yeah, technological stuff is frustrating. But every single time you learn and then you gain, like you basically overcome that hurdle,
Hmm.
then it becomes something of the past.
Yeah.
So it can only go up. You're like this,
Yeah.
it's a rolling wheel uphill.
Totally. It's when you like live in and you call it a failure that it's like you stay there and you don't learn from it. That's when you go backwards. It's like it's a lesson. What can you learn from it and how can you use it to move forward?
Right. I actually even don't call anything failures, because to
Yeah.
me, I'm like, it's just a learning experience. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that didn't work. So what will work? And
Yeah.
it's same thing, making those tiny pivots like, okay, this product didn't sell, why not?
Hmm.
And going from
Get
there.
curious about it. Yeah. Like
Mhm.
when you have something, not everything's going to work. Like when you put it out there,
Mhm.
you like it's never all going to work. If it
Right.
does, like
Right. Or
that's
even
good
I
to
feel
learn.
there's actually a lot of bloggers I feel like that like have started blogging about something, and then they're like, oh, actually people are interested in this caveat of whatever
Hmm.
I'm blogging about, and not what I want to like. I wanted to blog about business. I want to blog about entrepreneur and all that stuff, but like nobody wanted to hear that from me. They wanted to know my blogging stuff. They want to know my Instagram stuff. And like I didn't want to do it, but until I like gave in and I was like, all right, you know what? My audience is talking. I'm going to let them direct me. Once you switch that, it's so much easier.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. So you said that when I was the most successful on the outside, I was the emptiest on the inside. Can you explain that?
yeah. So this year has been crazy for me. Like, I mean, just with everyone going online, business has been booming. Like everyone is trying to learn how to make money living. Sorry, how to make money blogging as their full time income, and how to monetize their Instagram. Like everyone's trying to learn that. So I feel like um and for me, I mean, I've been featured on like so like 500 plus media sites and like worked with so many huge brands and all that stuff. But I felt like I was at a point where I was like, what's my purpose?
Hmm.
What is all this stuff, beneficial for? And yes, it's benefiting my students. They're learning something. But for me, I was personally like, all right, I've built this business. Now what? And
Hmm.
I was like kind of teetering there a little bit. And God just really met me. And he just kind of transformed my business and was like, you know what? Like, because you think you're the CEO of your own life, actually, I'm the CEO.
Yeah.
You're my CMO. And so I feel like I had to put myself back into the place of like where I belonged, which
Hmm.
is basically in terms of purpose, is like there's always someone. I felt like I was at the peak. Okay. I was like on the top of the hill. No one would like, I was so arrogant, so prideful. And when you hit the end of yourself, there's nowhere to go.
Hmm.
And so if you don't replace it with something in terms of like, everything else was like a God in my life, an idol in my life, like
Hmm.
money, success, pride,
Hmm.
fame, all those different things. Like that's what I was striving for, but ultimately they aren't fulfilling.
Hmm.
So if you're driving through stuff that don't cause eternal happiness,
Hmm.
it's just gonna you're driving like into an empty field,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, that was my journey this year. And so I feel like, so now actually, um God basically is changing my business, and I'm completely rebranding. So right now you see what it is before, and granted this just happened like 2 months ago. Okay, so everything's rebranded, but I'm doing it behind the scenes.
Hmm.
So because I don't want to confuse anyone, because I mean I have built this audience of like, I don't know, like 300,000 followers, and so if I just like slap like this new brand on them, they're gonna be like, what? And you know what I mean. So I want to do it all at once, so that it's clear, cohesive. That's good
Yeah.
marketing. So yeah, so basically, so the change, what I'm talking about is that it's going to be more focused towards creating Christian content creators. So I feel
Hmm.
oftentimes, um, there's so many women who are like, well, how do you integrate your faith in your business and whatever? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I just like, I mean, I just act, ethically, like do business ethically, but like, what's the next step? How can you talk about God in your business? How can you be a testimony? How can you share these moments of faith? And the only way that I can come up with that is if you operate within, if it's a Christian business, you
Hmm.
know? And so it's basically, yeah. And the other thing is, I was reading a blog post, and it was titled "Why I Stopped Reading Faith Posts or Faith Blogs," and the
Hmm.
reason was because there were no more. And I was like, that is so sad, because I feel like right now the content that's going online, the content that's viral, the content that's going crazy is just fluffy content.
Yeah.
It's like,
A
I mean,
lot of crap.
right, stuff. It's just stuff,
Yeah.
and so if we keep on liking more and more stuff, the less actual inspiration, motivation,
Hmm.
and purpose driven content there is going to be online. And
Hmm.
so I want to change that. I want to go online and be like, wow, I all of a sudden, like, a month ago, I just started following all these Christian content creators, all these, inspirational things. And I was like, my life has been, the quality of life skyrocketed,
Hmm.
and just because of the content I was ingesting. And so yeah, so I want to encourage people how to do that, but oftentimes why they die is because they don't know how to monetize. And so then they create content, and then they're like, okay, I'm at this point, but like other stuff gets in the way and whatever. But if it becomes their job, and their job is to create Christian content, that is like what's going to be like change the whole web, like world wide web, you
Yeah.
know so yeah. And I say like blogging is kind of like the Bible, in terms of like spreading messages. What is it that you believe in? We're in an era that everyone's talking about what they believe in. So what do you believe in?
Hmm.
Share that, you
Yeah.
know
I love it. And I can't wait to see the rebrand and what that looks like. That is so exciting of going into 2021 with just like a whole fresh outlook, fresh perspective.
yeah.
E- Exciting. What's the best book you've read?
Right now, I'm reading Counterfeit Gods by Timothy Keller, and it's so incredible. It's all about how like debunking your idols in terms of money, success, fame, power. But
Hmm.
another really great book that I read like years ago is called The 5 Day Weekend.
Ooh.
And it was really good. It really, I kind of rewired my brain in terms of how entrepreneurs think. And
Yeah.
one of the quotes that, oh man, he said was, if you learn how to make money in your sleep, you like that's like the only way that you can make like, like success. And
Hmm.
so I think that, and now with like the internet, like it's possible,
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
all trained by our parents, and like, oh, if the harder you work, the more you'll make, and da, 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 da. And it's like, actually, the internet is a huge mechanism and a tool that you can use. It There's automations.
Mm.
You don't have to work as hard. You just have to be more strategic, more, it's all about marketing. Like, if you
Yeah.
don't learn anything else, just study marketing. And yeah, that's all you
Where
need.
have you studied marketing?
Online, so with courses.
Yeah.
So
What are
no
some of the courses that
formal
you've
training.
taken? Yeah.
I would say I took Create and Go's, Pinterest Avalanche, and that
Hmm.
was incredible for me. I'm almost at a million uh, monthly viewers on
Hmm.
Pinterest. Another course I took is Michelle, affiliate marketing course. And she just like, I needed to learn specifically affiliate marketing. And
Hmm.
so that was like a really great course for me. So just like little courses, like that. And I actually just purchased her sponsored guest post
Hmm.
one as well. Um, so I'm about to go through that, and I'm super excited. So
Exciting. What does it mean to make an impact?
for me, it's about affecting the next generation in terms of
Mhm.
thinking, thought process. So I actually have an internship program that I started, that was the internship that I wish that I would have had,
Hmm.
um, in college. To learn, to train my brain to think outside of what I thought was possible.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like, I mean, granted, right now I feel like, oh, all about empowering women, da, 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 but I was actually like really like, yeah, I was, yeah, it was just like, it was hard, like I was I wasn't confident with myself, and even though I portrayed this confidence, and whatever. But anyways, it's about, yeah, like teaching the next generation the skill set in order to become better, and
Hmm.
to become whatever it is that they want to become. Especially for me, it's women, empowering them to do what they want to do. Mhm.
I love it. Where can we connect with you?
Everywhere. Like, I'm all over the internet. If you just search my name, Elaine Rau, Rau, and it's just normal spelling, Elaine. So that's my personal brand, and my professional brand is Lady Boss Blogger, and that's, I'm on Facebook, internet, um, LinkedIn, Instagram, like everything that you can think of, I'm on there. So
Cool.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I really enjoyed learning just about your journey, your story, and thank you for adding so much value to our listeners. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. This was awesome. Nice meeting you.
You too.